Hello all. So my system crashed and I had a lot of trouble with it, and I decided that maybe popos 20.04 was too new. It's based on Ubuntu 20.04, and because these are both brand new long-term support operating systems that are they came out at the end of April, so they're a little more than a couple of months old, and so you would expect that something that's based on something else would have more problems than the thing it's based on. So I've decided to go with a copy of Ubuntu 18.04. Now, I didn't have a copy of, 20.04. I didn't have a copy of 20.04 when my system crashed and I couldn't boot into it, but I did have a copy, of the installation medium on a thumb drive for 18.04. So I installed that, and then I upgraded it to 19.10. And then I was able to upgrade that to Ubuntu 20.04. So once I had a nice, fresh copy of that, I got to work. And so I had to do a number of things. So firstly, I installed some applications like Google Chrome. That's my preferred browser. I've been using it for a long time. And although there are a lot of good things about Firefox, I just find Chrome to be fairly convenient. I also like Terminator for my terminal program, so I installed that. And then some other things like GitHub and Vim. And then I had to, I have a GitHub repository, so I had to get all set up for that, which required cloning my repository, because I have some things like background images and stuff that are and some dot files that are out on GitHub, and so when I'm setting up a new system, I need to get to them, and that requires creating a new key, deleting the old key, installing the new key on GitHub, and then running config, git config, for things like my email address and username, and so on. And then I install some packages like curl and zsh, and finally I run ohmyzsh. And so I've got an interesting article here: "Make your terminal beautiful and fast with the zsh shell and power level 10." And so I went through this. This is a very good article, and it takes you through from beginning to end. So I don't even have to think about it. So, I do the sudo apt install zsh, and then you can change the shell, although ohmyzsh will change it for you. You don't really have to do that. And then installing this is as simple as running this command here. All right, so this is out of the Robbie Russell ohmyzsh repository. And so if you just paste this, copy this and paste it, it will install ohmyzsh, and you'll get a screen that looks like this. Of course, appropriately sized, not with these gigantic fonts, but and then you want to install the power level 10K theme for that, so that you get these kinds of prompts, very nice looking prompts. In order to do that, you clone the repository. This is by this guy, ramcat.v. And then once you clone this, you have to also get the nerdfonts, so that you can display things like You know, these odd-looking things and the angle brackets and whatnot are well, they're fonts, so you have to make sure that you have them. And so he recommends this Furamano font. I don't like that font as much as, or as well as, the Roboto Mono font, the nerd font. But anyway, to do this, you have to clone the repository. It's this Ryan Onassis guy. And so you do that. Here's how you do it. And then you also do this. You clone these ZSH autosuggestions.git and syntax highlighting, ZSH syntax highlighting.git. And well, he likes micro, but I like Vim, so I use Vim. So once you're in there for the ZSH theme line inside of .zshrc, you replace whatever was in there with the parallel 10k / parallel 10k, and then you have to put this parallel 9k under mode equals nerd font complete so that it will use your fonts correctly. And then if you want to enable autocorrection, you uncomment this line. This is all in the .zshrc file in your home directory. And then we want to make sure we have all our plugins. So there's the Git plugin, which will make it easy to do things in Git, like GCA will do a git commit all. Mostly these are a bunch of aliases. If you're wondering what exactly this did, if you type aliases, you'll get a list of all your aliases, and you can look at all the ones for Git. So here's what they do. They do this Git, ZSH autosuggestions, ZSH syntax highlighting. So ZSH syntax highlighting will tell you if you type something that's wrong. It will show up as in red. So you'll know that you made a mistake, and you can fix it. When you fix it, it turns green or yellow or some color to let you know that you typed it, you haven't typed it incorrectly. And so I have a list of plugins that I use. So for example, I use the history plugin, and I use the, there's one for Vim. Let's see if I can find my list here. Well, I can just let's do this. Open a terminal, CD here, and I can grep plugin from .zshrc. And so I use this one called Common Aliases. This gives me things like capital G for pipe grep. Git, we saw ZSH auto suggestions, we saw syntax highlighting, we saw. So I put in also VI mode. Z I like. Z is something that allows me to jump around to different directories. So if I went to a directory before that had the letter my in it, it'll go there directly. So you can see I'm in the my TensorFlow directory now. All right, CD dash will take me back to where I started from. So I like the Z plugin. ZSH navigation tools is very helpful. That does things like I'm not really sure. Actually, I forget what that does. I'm sure I use it, but I'm not sure what's in there. And there's some aliases for Ubuntu. The history is very nice. That lets me do a Control R and then search backwards through my history for things. And also sudo is very helpful. So if I hit escape twice, it'll put sudo in front of whatever I've typed. So a lot of times you type something in and then you run it and it says you don't have permission. You just hit escape twice, it'll put whatever you ran back up on the prompt and append it or prepend it with sudo. So anyway, those are the plugins I like. If you put lots and lots of plugins in, it slows your system down. So you don't want to use too many, but I find these to be very helpful. And so once this is done, close this up here. Once this is done, you change your terminal font. Whichever terminal you're running. On mine, I have to right-click on it and, oh, this is not my terminal. Open another terminal again. So I right-click on my terminal and choose Preferences, and I can select the font I want in there. And so, excuse me. This one suggests the Monofuro Nerd font, and you can use that one, that's fine. If you don't like that one, look around and use one of the other Nerd fonts. And then the last step is to run this p10k configure command, which will take you through a series of screens, and you just say what you want. And you make some choices, and when you're done, you will end up with the kinds of prompts that you like. It's pretty easy to understand what's going on there. You shouldn't have any trouble running that. And I didn't get any permission errors at all in mine, but if you do, there's some helpful information here. And once you do that, you'll have a pretty cool terminal that will look something like this. You see here it shows my Conda virtual environment, and so if I can deactivate that, the Conda deactivate. You see how it's giving me suggestions. That's the auto suggestion plugin here. So now I don't have a virtual environment activated, so I don't see it. This check mark is telling me that my last command ran successfully. I'm seeing that I'm in my home directory, and this little thing here is just the symbol for Ubuntu. So yes, why would you like something like that? Well, if you are doing screen recording, that kind of thing can be helpful. Anyway, once I get ZSH set up, because I don't want to use Bash. Once you start using ZSH, you don't have it, you really miss it. All the features and functionality. Excuse me, my voice is going, but I'll try to get through this. So then the next thing that I wanted to look at here is, let's see, how to install the popos shell window tiling extension. So one of the best things about popos is this window tiling, and you can't get this in Ubuntu. You don't get it normally. You have to jump through some hoops to get it. And so here's the little icon up here, and I made sure the tiling windows was on. Also show the active hint I like to have turned on. But in order to do this, you first of all have to turn off Wayland. And in order to do that, you have to, let's see where it says how to do that. Is it not showing it here? Well, I don't see it here. So let's take a look. So turn off Wayland. 1220.04. So maybe I should say disable. To disable Wayland. Here we go. So it's not very hard to do. The hardest thing is to see these screenshots, which don't look particularly great. Well, actually, they're looking better now than they were before. So basically what you do is this sudo edit /etcgdm3/custom.conf, and you're going to get this file is going to pop up, and you'll see there's a pound sign in front of Wayland enable equals false. That makes it a comment. That means that Wayland is enabled. So you go through and you delete that pound sign, and then you end up with this, Wayland enable equals false. You save it, you save the file and exit, and then you do a sudo system control restart gdm3, and you'll have to log back in, but now Wayland will be disabled. And once it's disabled, then you can go through and do the rest of this. There's some kind of a bug with this. If Wayland is enabled, your system's going to freeze up or crash or something. And so what you need to do then is this sudo apt install node-typescript, make and git. These three programs have to be installed on Ubuntu. And then you're going to do this git clone, blah, blah, blah. And so I did this from my home directory, and it made a shell directory. So I had to cd into the shell. And then I ran /rebuild.sh. And that's going to install it all for you. And then you have to restart your I don't think you need to do any of this here. But you do have to restart your shell, which is, where is it? I believe you have to restart your shell, which is, I think, control function F2? No? No, that's not it. Where is it? You also have to fix some of your shortcuts. So the shift plus super plus up, shift plus super plus down, super plus up, and super plus down should all be disabled. And you can get that by going into your settings, keyboard shortcuts. You click on them and then you hit the back space and it will disable them. So just those 4 shortcuts. All right, so I'm not seeing how to restart GNOME shell. It's a function key. Yeah, it's Alt F2, and then a little box will pop up. You put an R in there, and don't do any of this. I'll show you. Just Alt and hold the Alt down, the function key, and press F2. And you get this run a command thing, and you type R, and you hit enter. And I'm not going to do it because I think it'll mess up my recording. But that's all you need to do. And then after that comes up, you come up here and you turn on tile windows, and you'll have all of the functionality for tiling that is normally in a popos 20.04. So if that's the feature you're just have to have from there, fine. So once that's done, you're in pretty good shape. I then go and I made I made a virtual environment. So if I open up another terminal here, I did anaconda deactivate, right? I got rid of this base from here. And then I did anaconda create minus name anaconda. I'm not going to do this again because I already have that. And then I did a anaconda activate anaconda. And you can see here in my prompt now, it shows that I'm in that virtual environment. And from here, I did anaconda install anaconda. And so I guess I left a step out here. And one of the things that I always do is I install miniconda. So then docs.conda.io/en/latest/ what else is this up here /latest/miniconda.html. Because I'm on Linux, I click on this, which is going to download this miniconda installation. It's a .deb package. And I do a SHA-256 sum, and then the file name, and I check this against this hash here to make sure it's correct. And then I just follow the installation instructions, which are pretty easy. For Linux, just type bash miniconda 3. This is the name of the file. So if you're in your download directory, I always put a // in front of it, and it will just install this. And once you're done, it'll ask you if you want to update your .bashrc file, and if you say yes, it will. But you are no longer running bash, you're running zshrc. So I open up my .bashrc file, I go to the bottom, it says conda initialization. I copy all the lines that have to do with that, and then I open up my .zshrc file and I paste them all the way at the bottom. And then if you log out and log back in, or just close your terminal and open a fresh terminal, it will work correctly. So once that's done, then you are able to do all this business here with setting up the virtual environment and then installing Anaconda. And when I'm done installing Anaconda, then I install tenserflow-gpu. And that should do it. It should be wonderful then. And then you just go out and get yourself a Jupyter notebook. So let's see. No, I'm sorry, I left some things out. Before you can do the conda install tenserflow-gpu, you have to make sure that you have this other stuff done first. Where is it? All right, so if you come here, tenserflow.org/install/gpu, I think you just have to do, I think this much will get it. Yeah, to here, then you do this install CUDA with apt down here. Let me go back for a second, just so you can get a good look at this. It's tenserflow.org/install/gpu, and then down here, install CUDA with apt. You come here, and here's the Linux setup. And I don't know if you need this export LD library path, but I copied it and I ran it from my terminal. And I also put it at the very beginning of my .zshrc file. Not sure if it's needed, can't hurt. And then install CUDA with apt. I came up here and I clicked on this copy code sample to clipboard. And then I went back to my terminal and pasted it in there and ran it. And it ran all of this. All of these things ran all the way down to here. And when I was done, I rebooted and I was able to do a conda install of tenserflow-gpu with no errors. So pretty easy. It's hard to get TensorFlow to install more easily than that. So one of the things you might notice is that this is for Ubuntu 18.04. And yeah, that's not great, but it works. It works on 20.04. So I don't know what problems are going to be caused by this, if any. But right now it's working. And I'm guessing that before long, that TensorFlow will come out with repositories for 20.04. They don't have them right now. I tried. I did a wget of this thing, and I put 20.04 in here instead of 18. Same over here, and it wasn't available. It said it couldn't find it. Gave me a 404 error. So the cool thing is you don't have to know anything. You just have to click this guy to copy it, and then paste it in your terminal and hit enter, and it will just work. You just have to remember to reboot when you're done. And then once that is going, then you can come in here and do those two installs, the conda install anaconda and the conda install tenserflow-gpu. And I can do a conda list now. And these guys will, you see, here's TensorFlow. So all these things are in here. TensorBoard plugin, TensorFlow, TensorFlow-gpu, etc., etc. And you also will get all kinds of other stuff that you probably need, like Matplotlib and pandas and NumPy. And you'll get your Jupyter Lab here. And so what I've done here is, well, first of all, sorry if I'm being a little confusing. I went into, where did I go? This is tensorflow.org/guide/data here. Introduction to TensorFlow. Is that it? Load and process data. Explore. And then we'll see here that, where is it? Where is it? It wasn't down that far. Well, I'm not having luck with this. I'm going to let the computer find it for me. Look for notebook. There we go. Ah, right in front of me. All right, if it were an anaconda, it would have bit me. Download notebook. So you just click on download notebook, and then you'll get this data.ipynb over here, and that's in my downloads directory. And so I made that my TensorFlow directory. So I just copied that, or I moved that over into my TensorFlow directory. And then from there, I CD'd into that directory, and I did a Jupyter Space Labs. Let me see if I can find that here. This is where I did right here. First I ran this Python -c import TensorFlow as TF semicolon print tf.dunder version, and it came back with 2.2.0. So that's just a way to check that, make sure that it worked. And then I did Jupyter Space Lab, and when I did that, it opens up the notebook, the Jupyter notebook, in the browser. And so when it does that, I'm going to delete this copy here. Delete. So when it does that, you just click on the file. If you don't see this panel here, just click on this little icon of a file folder. So here's the data.ipynb. That's a Python notebook, IPython notebook. That's the format. And you never want to work, well, you rarely want to work directly on a notebook that you download. Usually you want to right click on it and duplicate it, and then you can work on the copy. And the reason I say that is very often you won't download a single notebook. You'll download a whole bunch of them from a GitHub repository, and you want to be able to pull the repository just in case there are changes. And so if you've changed the original, you'll have a problem, because the versions will be off. You'll have to merge them. It's a mess. So it's just a good habit to get into, to make a copy, and double click on it, and that'll open it eventually. And then you click on the first box here, and you hold the shift down and you hit enter, and that'll run it. And just keep holding the shift down and hitting enter, and you will move from each one of these, what do they call these fields, right? You'll import TensorFlow. If you get an error here, you made some kind of a mistake. It'll turn red and you'll get an error. You'll know right away if you've got a problem. And so you see it's using matplotlib here, and pandas and numpy. So if we hadn't installed Anaconda, we wouldn't have had all of those. So we would have gotten errors there. And I'm just holding the shift down and hitting enter, and we're going through, and so on and so forth. And so you can read through this basic tutorial for TensorFlow and start to get a feel for what's going on and how to use TensorFlow. And that's about it. I hope you found this helpful. It should really make your system operate quite well. Of course, there are a million other things you need to change when you do an installation of Ubuntu. You're going to want to get all your settings just as you like them, and so on. I install time shift also, which allows me to make a backup of the system. Doesn't back up my my home folder, so not my personal files, just the system, so that if I install something and it breaks my system, I can go back to an earlier version using time shift. So that's something you should also think about installing. In any case, I hope that this has been useful for you. Thank you very much.